Good morning. Today we're going to learn how to do strip sets. There's many books that use strip sets in their making of the quilts. Like Annie's, she has some here that you do. Let me see. If I can find the one I'm looking for. Like here, these are done with strip sets, so it creates this cute little baby quilt. This one here, she also uses different strip sets, and it's an Annie book. And there, you're sewing number of strips together, and then you go back and subcut it, is what it's called. So you're cutting sections out of that strip set you cut. And a strip set is made out of the full width of the fabric. So it's 45 inches long. And you can leave the selvages on because you're going to cut them off when you start doing your subcutting. So this particular one has a green on each side of this one. So there's one on each side that goes. So I'm going to sew these 3 strips together to do that. There also is the 3-yard books that she does many different ways that she does strip cutting too. See, once you learn that technique, you will be able to do so many quilts because they're done with strip sets. Like here too, she's done in this 3-yard one. She sewed a wide one and 2 narrow ones together, and then she goes back and cuts them. So the good thing is, with all this technique you're going to learn to do many things. And what I do is I use a ruler like this. It's called Shape Cutter. There's many other ones that are out there. This one is the one that I just use because it's more reasonable price than some of the other ones. And so what I'll do is I'll sew my 3 strips together, and then I will show you how we go about cutting them and prepping them for this particular block that I'm going to use my strip set in. So I'm going to turn you down here a little bit so you can see me sew these strips. So I'm going to start with my wide one with the right side facing up, and then I'm going to add a narrow green one with the right side facing the other right side of the wide one. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to sew all the way to the end. And I'm going to do my 1/4 inch so that it makes sure that it's what size I want it to be. So I'm going to sew all the way to the end of this. And this particular one, when I get done, I'm going to cut it in 1.5 inch increments. So this particular block, that's what it uses. Some of them you'll cut it 6.5, some you'll cut 3.5. It just depends on whatever pattern you're making with your strip set. And you can create almost any kind of a block doing strip sets, especially if you're doing the same block over and over, and there's pieces of it that are exactly the same. If you sew it in a strip set, it makes it that much easier to do the thing quicker, and it actually comes out probably more accurate. So now, as you can see, these 2 ends did not end up to be exactly the same length. Don't worry about that, because there again, you're going to cut that off. So I like to do my finger pressing, so I'm going to fold this out. I'm going to run my thumbnail down the side of that to get that cut or flattened out all the way down. And then I will go to the next strip, because this particular block, it needs to have a strip on each side. So I'm going to sew right sides together again. I'm going to put those right sides together. And this time I'm going to flip it over because it's a little easier to just do it that way. So now I have my narrow side, right sides together, and I'm going to flip it to the wide side and sew that same 1/4 inch all the way down. I'm going to make sure I line up my edges so that I keep that 1/4 inch even on all of it. And again, it doesn't matter when you get to the end if it's even, because you're going to even all the edges out. But it's kind of fun to do these strip set piecing because, like I said, it goes quickly and it goes really well, because you can create so many different blocks. You can do wide pieces with narrow pieces, vice versa. You can have them all the same width. A lot of the strip set piecing is done with 2.5 inch strips, which, is jelly rolls. So you can do many things with a jelly roll. And if you do 4 strips of a jelly roll, which are all 2.5, that brings you to 8.5 inch. So if you cut them 8.5, then the next piece you cut 8.5, you can turn them different directions and create a whole quilt out of that. This particular one is going to be used for a border, and it's part of a chandelier block is what it is. There's a whole quilt that's called the chandelier quilt, but I've actually using this to make a chandelier block as a border. So, okay, so again, this end, the side, each of the pieces are even on top, and my selvages are still on. This one, the ends are uneven. You can start and finish wherever you want because, like I said, you're going to cut those ends off, so it doesn't matter. Again, I'm going to do my finger pressing. I'm going to fold the seam out like I want it to be next to the green, and I'm going to run my thumb down it, and that's going to give me a kind of a real crisp edge. And then later on, I'll go to the iron and actually iron it. But right now, to show you this, I'm going to use the finger pressing. So that way my seams are not rolled at all. They're all nice and flat. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over to the cutting table, and I'm going to show you how to cut that strip. Okay, so here's my ruler, and if you're going to do multiples of it, and you have a problem remembering what you're doing in the thick of things here, take a dry board eraser marker and mark the places you're going to cut. So what I usually do for the first one is I line up one of my lines on my seams, because that way I can see, you know, exactly what is happening there, you know, with it. So okay, and you can use whatever rotary cutter is your favorite. So the first one you're going to cut on the 0, because the 0 is going to get rid of that. So then I go back and I line that up with my 0, and I move my strips a little bit if I have to get them lined up with my seam. So it's on my 0, and I want these 1.5. So I'm going to do a 1.5 slit. I think I got in there. Oh, we'll use this one today and see if we can make this one work. Well, having a problem today with my strip cutter, of course. Let's try it again. University of Northwestern St. Paul. Take the next step toward a Christ-centered education. Support provided by our impact partners. Well, I'm going to try it the other direction, see if I can get it to go. Because it's not cooperating. Sometimes they just don't. So. Okay, so there's my 1.5 inch strip. So I'm going to turn it back and see if I can get back on this here. So, okay, so 1.5. The next one is 3. The next one is 4.5. The next one is 6. Next one is 7.5. And then we've got a 9. And a 10.5, and a 12. So I was able to cut all those pieces without moving my ruler at all. So, and of course, there's always got to be a few that the blade doesn't quite work on. So, probably should have put a new blade in. But see, the nice thing is now I have all these pieces that are cut, and they're all my 1.5s, and because I have the rest of this strip, I can do lots and lots of pieces with just sewing that one time with the 2 edges on there. So the good part is you created all this, you know, with just sewing 3 strips together. So it makes all kinds of really neat things you can do with it. So this is like I said, this ruler, and once you get it figured out, today it's being uncooperative, but usually it goes through there pretty easy. I must have a niche on there or something on my blade that catches on there or something. So, but yeah, so normally it goes pretty good, and I can cut all that stuff that way. So, thanks